good dogs. And this is probably the worst business decision I've made, is doing these puppy seminars, because realistically, if you do everything I tell you to do, you're never going to see me again, and other than when you want to get your dog trained, like formally trained. And so the big difference between formally trained and just getting a good dog is obviously the commands, getting them to do things, and those commands will act as tools. But realistically, most people just want a really good dog. They just want a dog that's not going to jump on people, it's not going to bark and freak out, potty trained, we can put them away when we need to put them away, those things, and that's what we're going to get today. So we'll go over all that stuff, and again, if you have questions, stop me at the end. I'll ask you if you have a bunch of questions, but no, everything I'm here is going to be, it's going to sound a little crazy, especially if you're, is this your first dog? Yes, this is your guys' first dog too? Okay. So it might sound a little bit extreme somewhat, but really when you break it down, it's not too bad. But it's going to be a lot of telling you not to do things, more so than you telling you this is what you need to do with your dog, or this and that. Because most of the time it's owners that unfortunately cause the bad habits. So usually when I'm dealing with owners, I'm dealing with the owners, not the dogs. Dogs are easy, owners are complicated. So no, if you follow everything I'm saying here, you're going to get a pretty good dog, and you might not ever see me again, and that works too, because my goal is just to get good dogs, okay? So the big thing we want to think about is we want things to be nice and simple. Owners we always overcomplicate our dogs. We make these big long backstories to them, and we give them these this is why they do this, is because of this, this, and this. Now when we're dealing with puppies, not so much, because you know right out of the gate, but I see this often with like rescue dogs. The dog will do something like, oh, he did this because the old owner must have done this, or this must have happened. It's usually not that complex. It's usually somebody had an interaction with the dog over and over again, and whether it was good or bad, that's where the dog learned the behavior. So we want to always think the simple answer is usually the right answer, and it's usually not that complex. So the big reason why we want to keep things simple, not only on your behalf, but on our dog's behalf, is a dog's world is this equals this. What was I doing? What happened immediately after? Was it a positive or was it a negative? Was it an extremely positive or was it an extreme negative? And we're going to stay right in the middle of that. We're going to give positive, and it's going to be very simple. Our negative is going to be very simple as well. We're not going to overdo anything, any which way. So always keep in mind, this equals this is the dog's world. Within about a 3-second range, that's where they're going to go into. So as an example of using this in that range, if your dog pees on the carpet, there's nothing you can do after the fact. You can't rub them, bring them 15 minutes later, rub their nose in them and spank them with a newspaper. That connection is now lost. It has to be in the moment. Everything is going to be in the moment. So this equals this is where we get our dogs well behaved and trained, because we can use this to our benefit, but most people use this to our downfall. And the big way I see this is accidental rewards. And this is where we get jumping, barking at the door, whatever the case. Any behavior you don't want typically stems from this. So the most common accidental reward I see is jumping. And we, especially with small dogs or puppies, we allow this a little bit more. So what's your dog's name?
Blaze.
Blaze. And what's yours?
Indy.
Blaze and Indy, okay. So I come in the door, I see Blaze, I'm like, Blaze, what's up, buddy? And Blaze is jumping on me, and I'm petting Blaze, and now Blaze just got a reward for jumping on me. So as soon as those paws hit me, I went right down there and I gave him some attention. So now he learns that's what I do to get attention. I jump on people. Now again, the small dogs, we allow it. We go, it's not a big deal. But where we've got now mini Aussie Doodle's not going to be that big, but still a powerful dog, that's not going to be as acceptable, especially as they get older. So we just want to stop that right now, because if you have a guest over at your house, you don't want muddy paws on their clothes. You don't want to get all that stuff on you. So we never want to reward that behavior. So that's a very common accidental reward. A rule for the accidental reward is you get what you pet. So if you're petting them, whatever they're doing as you're petting them, that's some kind of a reward or some kind of value. So the other thing is when we're trying to calm our dogs down. So this is, again, you guys almost have like the most common high anxiety dogs, in the sense of where we try and calm them down. So I see this a lot with Aussies, and in particular with some of these Aussie Doodles too, where they start whimpering or crying. And as owners, we think, we give human emotions, human ideas here. So our dog's whining, we go, it's okay, just relax, it's okay, just relax. Now your dog's going, I'm getting a reward for whining and crying, I guess this is what I should be doing. Not only am I getting a reward for it, but you're acting weird now too. So maybe I should be worried about this situation, because a second ago you weren't talking that way, you were talking normal. Now all of a sudden your voice is, it's okay, you've gone to this kind of babyish voice. So we want to always gauge where we're at. We don't want to reward behaviors we don't want to try and calm them down. because we're gonna end up in that accidental reward, okay? So just be very wary of that, be cognizant of where we're doing that. The other big thing, and this is gonna go in line with this accidental reward, is our general energy level. I'm never extra excited, I'm never extra mad, I'm always right in the middle. So this excitement thing is where we get into huge trouble. So not only do we give just extra energy to our dogs that gets them crazy and gets them doing the wrong things, but we can also give things energy or situations energy. So if I come through the door every single day, and this is going in line with the walk or the jumping on us, so I come in and I'm like, Indy, hey Indy, sweet girl, and she's jumping all over me. Not only did I reward her for jumping on me, but now all those connections to me coming into the door are now going to be associated. So the key going in the door opening, or the garage door opening, all these associations that they're going to have, now they start getting extra excited when we come in the house. We're like, I don't know why they're always freaking out when I come home, but then we come in like a ball of energy and having a celebration, popping confetti every time we come to the door. So I want you to keep your energy low at all times. A rule of thumb here is I only want you communicating direction or letting them know to keep doing something or to stop doing something. Everything else you need to cut out, because that's for us. It makes us feel good, but it's not going to help with our dogs. It's only going to cause bad behaviors and extra energy. So I always want your energy level to be extra low, especially when you come in the house. I'll explain where we're going to be with that. But the other thing is giving things energy, like the door. So this is another common thing. Now, right now, people aren't having visitors as much, but the typical thing I would hear, and I hear it all the time, I go to somebody's house and I knock on the door, and the dogs are going crazy. I hear chaos. That's how I know I'm at the right house. I hear dogs barking, and I always hear the owner going, that must be the dog trainer. Let's go see, he's going to help you out. And they're talking to the dog the whole time, which means if they're doing it with me knocking at the door, that means they do it with everybody. Somebody knocks at the door, and you go, Blaze, who's at the door? Let's go see who's at the door, Blaze. And the person that comes to the door is like, oh, hey, Blaze. So now he's like, that doorbell, that ding dong, that knock is awesome, because a party starts every time that happens. So we want to watch that. We don't want to give things energy. The other big thing is the leash. I'll have a lot of folks that will grab the leash and they do the, who's ready to go for a walk? You guys ready to go for a walk? And the dog starts running all over the house and you're trying to chase him with the leash. And they go, I don't want my dogs freak out every time. But again, we've caused that situation. You go to my house, you grab a leash, my dogs don't flinch, because they know that doesn't mean we're necessarily going anywhere. But I like to go to my friend's house as a joke, and I'll just like grab their dog's leash and just watch chaos ensue. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you need to work with your dog. So we want to keep our energy level low. Don't give things energy. Again, those are all things that make us feel good, but they're not benefiting our dog. Another way to think about this is I want you to talk to your dog as if they were an adult person. So again, using the door as a reference, if every time somebody knocked at the door and I looked at my wife and I went, who do you think that is? Let's go see who's at the door. She'd probably leave me. She'd be like, this nutcase, I'm not dealing with him anymore. So talk to them as if they were an adult person, and that's going to give you smooth sailing. It's not always going to be the case, and there's going to be moments for fun, but as a general rule, we want to keep things nice and mellow, okay? So with that being said, we do want to start creating them a language, and right now our puppy's language is going to be a very simple one of keep doing what you're doing or stop doing what you're doing. When we start teaching commands and things like that, that's where their vocabulary broadens, but we want to be very specific with these words, and we want to be very consistent. And this is where, again, a lot of folks will miss the boat. They'll have 1,000 different words that means I don't like what you're doing. And usually it's our dog's name. I see this all the time. Blaze is chewing on something, we go, Blaze! Indy's doing, Indy, stop doing that. We have all these extra things that we start saying where they can only take about 3 syllables at a time. So they're in about a 3-second rule with about 3 syllables. So if I start adding all this stuff, all they hear is loudness and words, and it's not making any connection because you're also using a different word every single time you do it. So I like to keep them simple. I call them markers, which is we're just marking a behavior, good or bad. The positive one I use, and you can use whatever words you want here as long as you're consistent, is good. They're doing what I like, I say good, and that's it. Nothing past that. Because we can start spinning them out into this high energy level where we start going, good boy, good job, you're the best dog in the world, because we get excited and then we give that to our dogs. But I try and keep it at good as much as possible. And I don't even use their name typically with this. If I were to go home right now and my dogs cooked dinner, they mopped the floors, they got my kids to bed, my level of excitement would be, good boy. That's me being thrilled. Other than for certain circumstances, but typically I'm gonna be at just good. Now when they're doing the wrong thing, I say nope, with a hard P. Nope! Stop doing what you're doing. Now notice there's an inflection change there. Good, I like that, keep doing what you're doing. Nope, stop doing what you're doing. Again, I don't need a story with what you're doing wrong. I don't need to go, nope, you know better than to chew on the socks and blah, 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 blah. I've lost them at that point. Now they're just going, you're just saying things, and whether they're good or bad things, you're just saying loud things at me, okay? So our positive is gonna be good, keep it just good. Our consequence are nope, nope, that's it. I don't want anything past that. I'm not doing the nope as an anger, I'm doing it as a startling. I just want to startle them, so I'm not shouting or demeaning them, getting too crazy. So watch that. It's a hard thing to do. When they're doing something wrong, we really want to let them know they're doing something wrong, but we want to keep it simple. So this is going to be, there's going to be 2 things you're going to hate me for tonight, but they're the most important things, which is why you're going to hate me for them. In order for this negative and this positive to work, we need to catch them in the act of doing things. There's nothing I can do, like I said at the beginning, there's nothing I can do after the fact. If I'm potty training a dog and they peed over here and I was in the kitchen and I came back and stepped on it 15 minutes later, that was my fault. At this point, we've got young puppies, they have 0 freedom. They've earned no freedom. So they're gonna make the wrong mistake. A dog just naturally isn't gonna go potty outside. They're gonna go, I need to pee, I'm gonna pee. A dog's naturally not gonna go, oh, that's a sock, I guess I don't chew on that thing. Or that's a cabinet, I don't chew on that. They're gonna go, this is just a thing, I'm gonna chew on it. So we need to teach them what's right and wrong. The only way we can do this is if we can catch them in the act. So this is the most important thing for puppies and even dogs that are in training, but we need to have them tethered to us or with us at all times. It's annoying and it's a pain in the neck, but it's very important. So this fanny pack isn't just a sweet fashion statement. This is what I typically will hook my dogs to. It also doubles as a treat pouch later on. But I get a carabiner, I hook my dog to me. As I'm going, they're going. So as I walk around, they're stuck with me. The side effect of this is they're gonna be exhausted because as you're moving, you don't realize how much you move throughout the day. They're gonna have to keep up with you. So they start learning, okay, you're going, I gotta follow you. But I can catch them in the act of anything they're doing wrong. They go to chew on something, nope, I'm right there. And I'll show you what the correction's gonna look like on the leash, but I can catch them in the act of doing it. Those points, or that's the way I want you to think about it, is the points are how we're gonna get our dogs doing the wrong and right things. So best way to think about this point system is it's us versus them. They pee in the living room, I'm in the kitchen, point for them. You come in the kitchen, they chewed up the garbage can, point for them. They chewed a shoe up, whatever the case may be. All these little points, these start adding up. Now with young dogs, right now these are nothing, but they become habits. And then you're calling me when your dog's 3 years old and now we're trying to chip back away at these habits. So right now you can get a good dog by not allowing any of these habits to happen. They're bound to get 1 or 2 things away from you. But I get my points by catching them. They look at the garbage can, nope, I correct them. Point for me. Or they start to pee. You see them smelling and you didn't take them out and they start peeing, nope, I grab them, point for me. Whatever the case is, any behavior you don't want, they bark at the door, they do whatever the case is, we need to catch them in the act of doing it. My points are way more impactful than their points. A dog gaining a bunch of bad habits could take 6 months to a year. I can stop bad habits pretty quick. If we're really on top of our dogs and really paying attention to them, we can stop a lot of bad habits within a week or so, as long as we're consistent with them. So we need to catch them in the act, so they need to be with us. And this is a pain in the neck, and it's miserable. But it's not forever, but it's for a while. And as a rule of thumb, until I get my dogs trained, so typically I'm gonna start training, so if I were to be getting a puppy tomorrow, up until 5 months where I would start formally training them, they're gonna be stuck here with me. Our formal training allows us to get this freedom, but right now they haven't earned that freedom. They're gonna make the wrong decision, so I can't let them do that. So we're gonna keep them hooked to us at all times. There's gonna be a caveat to this, but plan on them being here, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys what the correction's gonna look like. And this is the thing most people have a hard time with, is giving a solid correction. So I'm gonna have you hold on to that real fast for me. Hold on to it really tight. So I'm going to make this association with the word nope and a correction on the leash. It's not gonna be a tug. What a lot of people do is they go nope and they pull. That does nothing for our dogs. I needed to really distract them. So it's nope, pop. Nope, pop. A good whip on the leash where they're going, okay, I don't like that. I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm not trying to get them airborne. I'm just trying to let them know I don't like that. Okay, so go ahead and do it to me. A little harder. A little harder. There we go, perfect, okay? So that's how we're gonna have our corrections look like. So ready? So I'm gonna do it to you first. I just want you to make sure you'll have a hold on that. So we don't wanna pull, we wanna pop.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and do it to me. A little harder.
Harder?
A little harder. A little harder. There you go. It's gonna feel harder than you think. Okay, so we're not pulling, we're popping. Go do it. There we go, that's what we're after.
Feels better down.
Yeah.
Too. More natural.
Yeah. What kind of dogs do you guys have?
It's like Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle, okay. Full-sized or mini? Oh, yeah, you guys have, I forget the puppy's name. I think you told me. Is it a full-size or mini? Is he mini? Okay. So those corrections are going to seem harsh. They're going to seem, now again, we find that range, but I'll have a lot of people where I'll see them the next week and they're going to do a correction and they're like, no. And I'm like, that's not doing anything. You're not doing anything any good. Or they'll go, my dog didn't stop behaviors, and then through that class, no. So we really need to be impactful. We're not after hurt them, but I do want to catch their attention. I'd rather give 3 or 4 solid corrections over a bunch of these ones. Because some people are like, God, I've said nope 400 times in a day, which you really might be, but we can cut that in half if we're doing really solid corrections, okay? So catch them in the act of doing things. The only way this is going to work is having them tethered to us.
Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, so it's going to be around her, but then she also works at home and does her job at home, so like a lot of times I've been wondering, like, does it make a difference between whether or not she's got the dog or I do to do those corrections? I mean,
it doesn't matter as long as everybody's consistent. As long as everybody's consistent with all the rules, then you're going to be in good shape. I'll find where, and just even as my note, I'll have a lot of dogs that are doing my program where I see the dog once a week for an hour, and I'm not even handling the dog very often, but the dog does great for me because my relationship and that dog's relationship is actually very short. They only see me very often, but when they know I have the leash, they go, this guy's not messing around. And so often owners will be like, my dog does great for you. And I go, because I'm very consistent. Anytime your dog sees me, I'm doing everything consistent. So as long as you're consistent, it doesn't matter. As long as everybody's on the same page. So where I can get loosey-goosey is, let's say you're following the rules 100%, and you come home and you're like, I'm gonna be fun dad, and we can do all this fun stuff. Then those rules will break down, absolutely. But as long as everybody's consistent, it'll be okay. It'll be just fine. Okay, so tether to us, is that okay with everybody? Nobody ran out. It's happened twice. One lady started crying when I mentioned this, and one lady just got up and left and never got her money back. I couldn't get a hold of her. So I'm always weird when I tell everybody this. So you guys on good board with that? Okay. So the caveat to this is going to be tethered to us or in a kennel. And a lot of people will underutilize their kennel. And the kennel is a huge tool for our dog training. The leash and the kennel are probably the 2 most important things you're going to have. Because if they're in the kennel, they can't do anything wrong. They're not getting any points on you. They're not going to be chewing on stuff. They're not going to be going to the bathroom. They're not going to be doing this, that, or the other. But if I give them too much freedom, and this is where the playpen, I'm going to kind of break some of your guys' dreams here with the playpen. Why a kennel is going to be different than a playpen. Our kennel size should be just enough room for them to turn around and lay down comfortably. That's it. Especially if we're dealing with potty training. But if I have a big playpen, they can still do stuff. We have that puppy pad down, and yeah, sure, they might use it every now and again, but eventually they go, hey, this thing's kind of fun to shred up, and you come home to a shredded up puppy pad. Or you've got a bunch of toys down, and then you come home to a bunch of chewed up toys, and whatever the case may be. In a kennel, they don't have any other option than just to go to sleep, which your dog wants to do anyway.
If they're in the kennel, then whining in the kennel.
Yeah, so we're gonna do nothing. We're gonna ignore it, and it's easier said than done, and it's miserable. And I know I've been there. Every week I'm dealing with a dog that's kennel training, and it's not fun. But the more we can ignore it, the better. So I'll go over kind of how we can avoid some of that whining. But just know, even when you're home, even when you're doing things, even when you're not sleeping, I want them in a kennel. If you need a break from them being tethered, they need to go in a kennel. A good rule here is if you can't pay at least 60% attention to them, they need to go in the kennel. Because I can technically have them tethered to me, but if I'm over here sending emails and doing whatever, sitting on my phone, and my dog's technically tethered to me, but they're around the corner chewing the leash up, or chewing on the couch, or doing whatever, and I don't notice it, there's no point in them being tethered to me. So in those moments, they need to go away. Okay?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So when she goes out,
Mm-hmm.
she's still tethered, like when she's urinating or moving or whatever?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll go.
She's all over the place when she goes.
Goes potty?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go over potty. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Yep, that's a good question. But this is mostly kind of.
How long does that leash have to be? Because I mean,
I usually do a 6-foot leash, standard leash, just for a standard 6 foot. So.
Let's say you have to go to an area they're not allowed and you just need to grab something and come back. Do you put them in the kennel, go grab it, come back, pull them out of the kennel? Because it's just a couple of minutes.
It depends. It depends.
Our dog's not allowed upstairs.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to go upstairs just for
So at that point, that's a good question. I would probably tether to something for that moment. Like if it's just a second,
Stay away,
perfect.
go up, okay.
Yep, that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. And you're gonna find, even after just about a week or so of doing this, you're gonna see a bit of a change in their personality where you can start even giving those little 1-2 minute breaks here and there. So yeah, good question. So yeah, I would just hook them to a tether, but don't let that be what you start doing. Because what a lot of people do is, oh, I'm not gonna tether them to me, I'm gonna tether them to the chair. And then you start doing stuff and now that whole tethering thing was pointless. So they need to be with you. So a couple things with the kennel. This is again where I sound mean. I don't put anything in the kennel. I don't do toys, I don't do beds, I don't do food, I don't do water, I don't do anything. Big reasons, mostly just a safety issue. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I've unfortunately heard the story 100 times, not 100 times, a handful of times enough to where it affects me, where a dog who had a bed in there, they chewed a piece of string off, swallowed it, the dog either passed away or had to have a major surgery to get that unwrapped from their intestines or stomach or whatever it is. So I can't trust a puppy yet. And they might not chew things yet, and yet being the big part of that, because they'll figure it out. They go, oh, this bed's kind of fun. They start pulling it, and then before you know it, you got a shredded bed. Now, if they're okay with the bed, if you feel confident with it, you can put a bed in there, and if they're not chewing it up, by all means. But as soon as they chew it up or you think they're gonna chew it up, I want it taken out. Most dogs are fine with the cool plastic. Usually that's what dogs are after. I get a lot of people that go, my dogs, they like to bury themselves underneath the blanket. Usually what they're honestly doing is trying to move the blanket out of the way so they can get to the cool plastic, especially in the summer. So just keep that in mind, give it a go. Just to note, it's very loud when they're on the plastic because you're gonna hear every little moving thing that they're doing. But I don't put anything in there. Again, no food, no water, no toys, just for choking hazards as they're puppies. As our dogs get older, we can give them a little more freedom of putting like a Kong or something like that in there. But for right now, nothing in there, okay? When we put them in the kennel, if we need to just baby step them, I'm okay if we use treats. So get something that they absolutely love and plan on just baby stepping this. I always want the kennel to be a positive. So as we want to grab some food, bring them in there, kennel, let them just go in, shut the door for just a second, open the door, let them right back out. Good, I'll even give them a secondary reward on their way out. Bring them right back in, kennel. Now I like to name it, that's why I'm saying kennel. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it spaceship or whatever you want to call it. We go kennel, good, shut the door. My demeanor is always mellow. I'm always calm when they do this, let them out. Good. And I might just do that for a day, just going back and forth. And then I slowly baby step my way where I go, kennel, good. I shut the door, I walk right out of the room, I walk right back in the room, and I let them out. So if they're doing okay in the kennel, you don't need to do these baby steps. But if we're just introducing the kennel, we want it to always be a positive. And it's always meant to be a positive. I never want that punishment thing. I'll get a lot of people that get mad and they get in the kennel and they throw them in there. If you are mad, and I understand puppies can be frustrating, take a deep breath, and I want those two things to be separated. So if they did pee in the house and you're upset at that moment, take a big deep breath. Easier said than done, I know, but I don't want that to be instantly thrown into the kennel, okay? Take a couple beats and then put them into the kennel. We always want that to be positive. When they go in there, just good and just leave. We don't need to give them a big speech as to where we're going and what we're doing. We don't need to go, you be so good, I'll be back in 3 hours, okay? You be a good girl while I'm gone. And then we leave, because now we just wound them up with energy and then we leave. Then we go, yeah, I don't know why they whine and bark, because again, we were just starting a party and then we just left. Same thing with coming home, especially when we're dealing with potty training. They need to go potty. Don't come in with a blast of energy. Were you so good today? And get the kennel out. Open that kennel door, get them immediately outside. Okay. The whining, again, easier said than done. Ignore. It seems like it's longer than it is usually for most people. I've had owners call me and they go, it's been like 3 hours and my dog hasn't stopped whining. And I have to say, is it a literal 3 hours or are you saying 3 hours? And they go, I don't know, it seems like 3 hours. And I say, okay, next time, time it, let me know. And they always call me back and it's like, okay, it was like 30 minutes, but it seemed like forever. And I get it, it does. It's annoying, it's obnoxious. But the more you can ignore, the better. Even if I don't want you shouting, screaming, any of that stuff, because it is attention. They're getting something out of you, and that just warrants them to keep doing it. Again, easier said than done. If you need to put the kennel away from you, in another room, in a basement, in a laundry room, wherever, if you need to put them somewhere where they're confined and you can't hear it as much, do that. So this is going to go to another point in the kennel, and this is kind of what you guys were saying earlier, where Blaze is in the bedroom. Put the kennel where you want. So if the kennel's fine in the bedroom and you're okay with that, by all means. I sound like a jerk again. I don't let my dogs dictate my life. If the kennel fits in my laundry room, that's where it's going. If the kennel's better in my living room because I've got a spot for it, that's where it's going. And you're going to hear all these different arguing, it needs to be in the bedroom where you sleep so they feel like they're a part of the bedroom. And then you're gonna have an opposite side saying, no, it needs to be in the living room where you're living and that's where he'll see all these people. Put it where you want it.
The only
Wherever
reason
you
you put it in the bedroom is so you shut up and look back.
Yep, and that's okay, and that is okay. Sometimes that is okay. There's times where it's like, you know what, you're doing better in here. Eventually we'll move it out. But for right now, that's okay. But just know that we can move it. I don't want you to get stuck in one position with your dog's kennel. But again, if you need to move it just to not hear it, that's fine too.
So my puppy seems to like to urinate every hour and a half.
Okay.
So if you leave it in the kennel at night, and we keep her in a completely separate area of the house at night, and she doesn't whine or anything, but she does like have to go potty often throughout the night. So do you just let her go in her kennel?
No, so and that's a good question. So the thing we need to do right in for that, and this is why the kennel is another big factor for potty training, is it's forcing bladder control. So part of the reason why she's going so often is just because she can. She goes, there's no consequence to me going. Now she probably is gonna have an accident in the kennel, and it sounds bad, but it's almost a good thing because she's gonna know, oh, I'm not gonna do that again because she's peed, now she has to sit in it. As long as our kennel's not too big, general rule, enough room to turn around and lay down comfortably, nothing else. If we start going too wide, and again, this is where you have to be very honest with yourself of, is this too big or too small? Because as owners, we go, oh, I feel bad, I need to get them a little more room. But what happens is she thinks, oh, I have enough room to come pee over here. And she goes, oh, wait, never mind, I don't. And now she's stuck in it. But again, that sometimes can be a good thing because she's gonna learn to not do that again. So we want that bladder control. At her age, you should be able to make it through the night, roughly. Around through the night, but she might need to develop that bladder control. So she might be a little bit behind on that, but start implementing the kennel now, even if it's just an hour here, 3 hours here, 5 hours here. So the puppy pads, just do away with them. I wouldn't use them anymore. The playpens, you can use a playpen, so that could be another moment where you're like, okay, I gotta run upstairs real fast, I'm gonna plop you in the playpen, but I don't want anything in there. I don't want puppy pads, toys, anything like that. And I'll kind of explain where we're gonna get with the toys, but utilize the kennel as much as possible. Okay, so on that point, that's where the kennel is going to be a big deal for potty training. That forced control, they're going to force to develop their bladder control. They're not going to go to the bathroom, or they don't want to go to the bathroom where they have to sleep. You're bound to have 1 or 2 accidents. That's normal, but usually after they have those couple accidents, it's gonna stop.
Question for you about the kennel.
Yes.
So what we've been doing is we'll intermittently put food in there with with our dog dishes, and then we take it out at night. So it's only when we are letting her have
Like
it.
throughout the day.
Yeah, just throughout the
She's
day.
kind of there.
Okay.
Her dishes are.
Okay.
You know, I don't feel like she's in her kennel very much anyway, like throughout the day, just because my kids want to have her out all the time.
Okay.
But, you know, we do, like, I'll feed her, and then it's like an hour before bed or whatever, and then I'll let her out before she goes, you know, to bed or whatever. And she's fine, and we don't give her any food in the evenings, I guess, but throughout the day.
So you're just leaving the bowl.
Have food in the kennel too, because that's kind of my question is why really nothing in the kennel, just like bare bones.
So big thing is if they're eating, they're gonna have to go poop. So and that's kind of cruel to say. You're stuck in this thing where you don't want to poop but eat, so you have to poop. And so we're gonna go over feeding. Feeding is gonna be a big thing for tonight, so we'll go over that. So just, I don't want anything wrong to happen in there. And again, I take everything out so that nothing can go wrong. Nothing can happen. Either you can't do anything wrong, nothing bad's gonna happen. But again, for that, it's if I'm giving you food and water in there, you're gonna have to go potty. And that's kind of on the cruel end of I'm loading you up and then not letting you go out. So
we've been looking at it as like that's a positive area that we want her to enjoy. So that's kind of like what you were saying, is like get in there, like bring them in, give them a treat and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we've been doing, is associating it as this is the place where there's food. This is the place where like it's a nice experience to be in there, so that it's not anything that she doesn't like. And that's, we've done it for like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and she's been like, we haven't really had many issues with it. So
yeah, and again, it's not. I'll get there because the big thing is we're going to be doing a feeding schedule, so that's going to be. It's not even necessarily having the food in the kennel. It's just the free feeding is what I don't want. So we'll go into our potty training. So again, just nothing in the kennel. Just keep that as a rule. And you're on the right path though. We do want it to be as positive as possible, and that's why we use those treats and that food as that coaxing. But I want it to be in short spurts where we're practicing that. We can make the kennel as positive as possible by just letting it be what it is and not making it a big deal. That's another thing, is we tend to make it a big thing. I just wanted to be a part of the day. With puppies, the benefit we have is whatever you're doing is their normal. When I have a dog that's not kennel trained, has never seen a kennel, I have to create a new normal and say, you're going to be in the kennel, and they're going, I don't know what this is. I haven't been in a kennel in 3 years. And this is why kennel training long term is important, because I do get a lot of people that go, when can I get rid of the kennel, or when can I move the kennel out of there? And I say never. Everything is ours, and I'll be going deeper into this, but everything is ours except the kennel. The kennel is theirs. So it's like giving your kid a bedroom. So when people say they don't have their dog in a kennel, I think that's rude. I say you don't want to have your dog have their own space. When fireworks go off, when thunderstorms go off, I want my dog to have that safe haven, that denning. All dogs have a natural denning. They want to naturally den. So that kennel becomes that thing. So long term, we want to have our dogs kennel trained. Other big things, especially all you guys have dogs that have to get groomed. So I can't tell you how many dogs have come into this grooming salon, and you answer the phone and it's like, oh, Fluffy's coming in. Fluffy bites us every single time we go in the kennel because Fluffy doesn't like the kennel. Or the groomer ends up having to charge more because they had to give Fluffy 3 baths because Fluffy's peeing all over itself in the kennel because it doesn't know what that is. Or when you have to go to the vet. Right now, especially now, you don't get it. There's no waiting in the vet. The vet takes your dog, they're throwing them in a kennel until they can get to their appointment. Or if you ever have to board them. If I have one of my family members that call me and they go, can you board my dog? I go, when was the last time they were in a kennel? They're like, oh, it was like a year. I go, nope, call somebody else. I don't want to deal with it. A kennel trained dog is good in all those different situations. I want the kennel to be the one thing they know in these high stress situations. So keep the kennel training long term. Don't plan on never getting your dog out of the kennel. I always want it available to them. I offer everybody, and you guys can take this bet if you want. I offer it to everybody. I can call my wife right now. I guarantee one of my dogs is in their kennel. And I always bet $100 if anyone wants to take the bet. Anybody? No? Okay. My dogs choose to be in the kennel. Kennel door's wide open, but that's where they prefer to be. They choose that over anything. So we want the kennel to be a nice, positive thing. Okay. So with that, this is going to lead us into our potty training. So again, if they're in the kennel, they're not going to go potty where they have to sleep. So I know when I take them out of the kennel that they have to go potty. I know that's my freebie for when I'm taking them out. I want you to think of the potty training. A lot of people will misinterpret potty training as I'm teaching my dog to not go out inside, when we're really teaching them to go outside and then avoiding accidents inside. So again, if I catch them in the act of going, I can startle them, grab them, run them outside. But if I don't catch them in the act, there's nothing I can do. I want to avoid as many accidents as possible. So I call this my apartment dog potty training method, because I find folks that live in apartments potty train their dogs way faster. When I first got my dogs, I lived in an apartment, and this is how I figured this out. So my dog's in a kennel. As I take them out, I am going to go outside with them. So this is where folks with a yard have a disadvantage. What do most people do? We take the dog out of the kennel, we open the door, we let them go out there, we hope they went potty. And I can't tell you how many times I get the story of, yeah, I let them out there for like a half hour and they came right back inside and peed. Think about your puppy's mindset. We have young dogs that don't know what half the stuff that they're seeing is. They're discovering it for the first time. So they're in your backyard and a butterfly goes by and they're like, what the heck is that? An airplane goes by. What is going on here? This place is awesome. Is that a new blade of grass? I gotta go smell that. They're doing everything but going potty because they're exploring, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Then they get back into your boring house that they've been in forever and they go, oh, I have to pee. And then they pee on your carpet. I need to know that they went potty before they're allowed to come back inside. So this is why I call it the apartment dog. People who live in apartments have to go outside with their dog. They have to go out on a leash. And this was at my apartment complex. It was designated. You had to go to a specific area. There was only one spot of grass. That's where you had to go. So what I want you to do is go outside with them on leash. Again, even if you have a yard, I like to go to the same spot every single time. The big important thing here is it just reduces your time out there. Because if you start walking around the yard, they're going to be playing and goofing around and not going potty. If I go to the same spot every single time, this spot becomes very boring. This becomes nice and boring, so they're gonna go fast. Good, yes, good job. Where I said low energy earlier, on this, I want your neighbors to think you've lost your mind. I want you, yes, good job, look at you. Have some treats ready, give them a big celebration. Typically, they're gonna pee first. So if I think my dog needs to poop, and I'll explain how we're gonna start timing that, I'm gonna give them a big celebration. Yes, good, I might run around the yard a little bit, play with them, and then I'm gonna reset right back to that spot. I don't say anything when I'm here. Some folks want to go potty. That's okay if you feel like you need to say something, but I don't want to add a bunch. I want to go, what are you going to go potty? You going to do? We don't want to do any of that because they're going to go, wow, what are we doing? And they're not focused on pottying. So the more stale I become, and they have the length of this leash, that's it. Even female dogs, and a lot of people associate this with males, but females will mark, and they'll mark themselves. Dogs are kind of dumb in that aspect. If they go out and pee, and they come back out and they smell their pee, they're like, ooh, a dog was here, and they'll pee on that. So again, we're just talking about reducing time. So if you go to that same spot every single time, it just becomes shorter and shorter and shorter to where you get out there, they instantly go pee because then we can play. So after they're all empty, I can take the leash off. Now they can go run and explore as long as I'm watching them. I'm okay if they're off leash in the backyard, but I want you to watch them. And I'll have a lot of people that will do, instead of the kennel, they'll let their dogs in the backyard. Big mistake. Your sprinkler heads are at risk, digging, fences, all kinds of stuff. And I always get yeah, my dog does great in the backyard. And then just like I said, the yet earlier, I have to go so far. They haven't found your sprinkler heads. They haven't found whatever it is. So I don't want to give them that opportunity. I want to know what they're doing when they're out there. As soon as we're done, slap on the leash, we go right back inside. Now let's say I go out there and I'm out there for like 15 minutes and they don't go potty. We go inside, we go right back in the kennel. I shut the door, I'm gonna give them about 30 minutes, take them out, we're gonna go right back outside. The benefit is, in the mornings and when you're coming home after they've been in the kennel for a long time, that's your freebie. I know they're gonna have to go because they've been in there. So I know they have to go, so that's my one time that I'm gonna be out there very short. They're gonna go pee right away, yes, good. And again, reward, give them a treat, give them something, not a biscuit. So when I talk about a treat, just as a reference point here, oftentimes people will carry like big milk bone biscuits, and this is how, in the moment, this equals this dogs are. If you give them like a biscuit, they have to sit there and munch and munch and munch and munch. By the time they're done with the biscuit, they forgot what they got it for. So we want to do something very small. So this is like a reward. And this is a soft treat, a very soft treat. So find your one. I got these at IFA. They're like $2. Dogs love them. So find something they like. Give them something that they love. But we were talking really small for the treats, okay? Nothing big.
Doesn't seem to like treats. She doesn't even like to eat that much.
Okay.
So she doesn't like the treats. We've been praising her like with a good job, but she doesn't like treats.
And
Okay.
that's okay. Yep. Just lots of praise. Eventually, we'll work into getting her a little more food motivated. It's not like your dog's a lost cause because they don't like food. Yep. Our reward, yes, good job, that's just as beneficial. So
Pretty
absolutely.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah,
What's that?
She can, but she'll only have like 2 pieces, and after that she's like done.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
deli
know
meat?
that's a good thing, though. We started giving her like deli meat, like just teeny tiny little bits of chicken, like the buttock.
Okay.
Really thin.
Yep.
She goes crazy over it. She loves it, but
Those small pieces, I mean, nothing that's gonna over.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Nope, that's fine. I'm okay. If a hot dog works, I'm gonna chop up hot dog into little bits and keep those ready to go. I'll find what the dog likes. The food motivation just makes things a little easier, but it's not necessarily just because the dog doesn't take food, they're gonna be a lost cause. But it just makes things a little easier. So just have that treat ready to go. Typically what I do, again, this fanny pack, it's a sweet tool. I'll just keep treats in my fanny pack. That way when I go out there, I'm ready to go. Or just keep a bag right next to the door so you can grab them on your way out. Just be prepared. Don't let them out until you're ready to go. For puppies, I want you to pick them up and take them out. Don't give them the risk of running from upstairs to downstairs to out the back door. Just grab them, take them outside. Okay? And again, I don't want you saying anything. I want you opening that kennel door, grabbing them, going outside. Save the excitement for when they go potty and they're out there. The other side effect of this going to the same spot every single time, as they get older, so pick your spot wisely, they will start going to that spot. In my yard, my dogs go to a very specific corner. Some folks go to the extreme of actually making that a different thing than the grass, so like putting we call it a potty pavilion, where they'll put like bark or something down. You don't need to do that extreme. I personally don't do that extreme, just because I've actually found it's harder to pick up the poop and bark or something like that. But if you go to that same spot every single time, they will continue to go there. And since with female dogs, I'm not sure if you know this, but they will kill grass. They kill grass more than males. So keep those dry patches in one side of the yard. Okay, so any questions on the potty training? Make sense?
So after they go, you can start playing with
Yep,
them.
absolutely. Have some fun.
And you can untether them.
Yep.
And then what if they start doing something like chew up a flower or something while you are trying to play with them? Do you tether them back on you? Or?
Nope, so I would just use my nope. as time goes on, that nope is going to be associated. So as they start doing the wrong thing, I'm going to go, nope, correct them. They're going to go, okay, I don't like that. Now again, I'm after that startling. I want to startle them. And the whole thing here, and actually I'm going to loop back to that. Our nope is going to be associated with that leash pop. So have you guys ever heard of the Pavlov method or classical conditioning, any of that stuff? Yeah. So nope is going to be associated. Nope, pop, nope, pop, nope, pop. After we do that 100 times, I say nope. They're going to look to me and go, okay. Good is going to be associated with food. So anytime you're giving them that food, good, give them that treat, give them that reward. So good, food, nope, pop. And it needs to be done in that order. So the word first, followed by the action. So they're going to start understanding and making an association with those things. So when we say good, they're going to go, okay, I like that thing. Nope, I don't like what's following there. Another way to visualize this nope. When I first started training my dogs years ago, the squirt bottle was like the new training craze. Every dog trainer was carrying a squirt bottle around. And what you do is you'd put it on stream, like the stream mode, and when your dog would do something wrong, you go, ah, and you'd squirt them in the butt. Because you didn't want them to see the squirt bottle, and that squirt in the butt was like shocking to them. To this day, my dogs are now 14 and 15, I think. Yeah, they're old now. But to this day, I haven't done this in years. It's probably been 10 years since I've done this. If I go into a room and go, ah, they squinch their butt cheeks in because they still think that water bottle's coming. So we want the same thing here. The difference is I don't want to have to carry extra stuff around. So I want nope, pop. When I have a dog that understands nope really well, if they're staring at a wall and I go in a room and go, nope, they go, I guess I don't do that anymore. So that's the idea we want to have with these nopes. And that's why we need to be very consistent and not use different words for nope. We don't want to say, stop that, hey, quit it. We want to be very consistent. Nope, a lot of this is your habits. You've got to develop these habits, okay? All right, so no questions on the potty training, all makes sense? When in doubt, take them out. If you think they need to go, take them outside. If they start smelling on the ground, I want you to rush them outside. Think, do I want to spend the next 10 minutes cleaning up pee or poop, or do I want to spend the next 5 minutes outside? So pick your poison. Luckily, you guys are in the group of non-knuckleheads that didn't get puppies in the winter. So kudos to you guys, because nothing's worse than doing this in the middle of the winter, like everybody does when they get their Christmas puppy. So you guys are in better shape than most. Okay. So we've gone over the potty training.
When do we start letting them walk there instead of carrying them?
That's going to be kind of where you feel like they'll have that control. So typically I'll start looking at that at about 4.5, 5 months or so. And that can vary by dog and level. So this apartment dog training, the other way to think about this is if you were to live in an apartment, all these rules really just kind of fall in this place. Anybody that lives in an apartment, they're going to know where their dog is at because they want their security deposit back. They're probably hiding the dog. They probably didn't tell the complex that they have a dog, so they can't explain pee and poop on the carpet. So they're going to be highly diligent as about where their dog is at, and they're going to take them outside on a leash. So think of that as again, your rule of thumb. Just pretend like you live in an apartment if you don't. Just know where they're at all times. Have that leash ready to go, okay? So the other big things with puppies that a lot of people miss the boat on is desensitizing them to situations. And again, this happens a lot more with winter puppies than summer puppies. So think about a winter puppy. We get them typically on Christmas. So here in Utah, we've got December, January, February, sometimes March of just snow. So now we've got a 4-month or 5-6-month-old dog now that doesn't know what a scooter is, that doesn't know what a bike is, that doesn't know what an airplane is, that doesn't know what all these things are, and they happen and the dog freaks out. The airplane goes by and they're like, what is that? I don't know what that is, because they're not exposed to it. So the biggest thing we could do is for puppies is just go out in your front yard, just stand there. You don't need to do anything in particular, just let them learn the world, smell the world, see that loud motorcycle go by, do whatever it is so they can get desensitized to it. I will be extra obnoxious when I have a puppy. When I walk in the house, I'll stomp, I'll go and ring the doorbell, I'll make loud noises. When the fireworks are going off in July, like this last month, I'll just stand out there. Just let them hear it, let them get exposed to it, let them get used to it. Now I'm not talking to them, it's okay when that thing goes by, but if they get freaked out, let them go through those motions. Let them be okay. You need to be the leader and just go, you're fine. You don't need to say that, but have that demeanor of it's not a big deal. Then they go, oh, you're not freaking out, it's okay. So especially where we have Aussie Doodles. So Aussies are very prone to being very skittish and they're kind of like, what is going on here? But they need that strong leader to go make them feel comfortable. To go, hey, it's not a big deal. But the more we expose them, the better. But we have to be careful with certain exposures and certain social interactions we might end up with. So my rule of thumb is when we're going with another dog is the answer is no. If I don't know that dog, my dog cannot play with your dog. I'd rather have no interaction than a bad interaction. So with that being said, I don't do dog parks. I'm not a big fan of dog parks. In fact, I hate dog parks. I've never been to a dog park where I haven't seen a dog fight. I had one of my clients that was, she's like, the reason I got this dog was to come to the dog park. I like having my coffee in the morning and bringing my dog and playing fetch. And I was like, that is wonderful and great, but you're putting your dog at risk. But she was like, I don't care, we have to figure out how to make this work. So I went with her to the dog park, and it was the first time we were there for about an hour. I didn't see a dog fight. And I was like, well, I guess I can't say that anymore. Almost on cue, 2 dogs started fighting right in front of us. So if I can't control the situation, the answer is no. So if you know the dog, if you know the owners, if it's a dog you're comfortable with, by all means, I will breed stereotype, and I get to say this because I have 2 pit bulls. If I see a pit bull walking down the street, the answer is heck no. If I see a German Shepherd walking down the street, probably not. If I see a Golden Doodle walking down the street, I might be a little more inclined. I'll pick on Yorkies too. I'm probably gonna say no to a Yorkie too. Just because their energy level can be too much, or that we can have that fight. That one fight can ruin your dog, not ruin your dog, but set your dog back a lot, because now your dog is gonna go, you put me in this situation and I got hurt. Now I don't trust you anymore. So now as you're going out, they're going, I don't know what's going on here. I don't want that. I want them to be confident. So we want to do responsible exposure. My role with people, oh, go
I
ahead.
have like a neighbor dog that likes to put its nose like through the fence and bark at my dog.
Mhm.
I think it's her skittish and like upset. And I keep her out there to listen to the dog bark, but is it dangerous when if she starts getting comfortable to like go over and try to interact through the fence or anything?
That's not a bad, so I would just kind of walk by. Just walk by. I wouldn't necessarily let her like go to nose or anything like that. But just walk by, let her get used to it. So yeah, it's a really good question. So just kind of walk by, and again, I was just gonna walk by and don't say anything. Now, if she ignores that dog, good, let her know that I like that you're ignoring that dog. But yeah, but if you've got family members, friends, and they've got dogs, and you trust that dog, and they have a history of being okay with dogs, great. And not to push, this would be my only push for the training programs. At the end of all my training programs, we do group walks. And this is where we get that socializing done with other dogs, because I trust to know every single one of those dogs. So I can say, hey, that dog's good, that dog's good, that dog's good. Maybe watch out for that dog. And that owner's gonna go, yeah, watch out for my dog, because they're gonna know exactly what's going on. All the dogs are on the same page. So that's where we can get some proper socializing done. Just be very cautious with that. Role with people is I want my dog exposed to as many people as possible and as many different variations of people. Now again, that's hard right now, because normally I'm like, grab your dog, go to PetSmart, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot. Don't do that. Don't fill the stores up where we don't need to be. But if you're walking down the street, the benefit is now a ton of people are just out. They're like, I'm bored, I'm gonna go walk. A ton of people got dogs. We're calling them COVID dogs. We get the Christmas dogs, now we've got the COVID dogs. So a ton of people have got dogs, and now they're out there walking. You're gonna see a ton of people. Have them say hi to your dog. According to most owners, I'm every dog's worst nightmare. You'd be every dog's worst nightmare too. I'm a guy with a hat and a beard. And most people are like, yeah, my dog doesn't like men in hats and beards. So I'm every dog's worst nightmare, but I look in the house and nobody fits that description. So I go, yeah, of course the dog doesn't know what's happening here. So we have to get them exposed to as many different people, tall people, people with crazy hats, people with wild outfits, kids, all kinds of things, but what needs to be appropriate. So here's the proper way to greet a dog, and this is a tool that you can use when you're greeting a dog. Come down to their level, put your hand out. If they come to you, great. If not, no big deal. If they don't want to come to you, hey, no, you're gonna say hi to me, because that's gonna go, Indy's not gonna like that. She's gonna go, what the heck, what are you doing, back up. Now we got Indy's going, you put me in this weird situation, okay? So that's how we're gonna greet dogs. My dog doesn't need to say hi to every single person. I don't need to say hi to every single person, so I'm not gonna put my dog in that situation. So don't put your dog in that situation, but offer it. Yep, absolutely.
This is how I want you to approach my dog.
Absolutely. And
you lay down on the ground rules before they even come up.
yeah, absolutely. And if somebody hey, nope, hold on, my dog's in training. Right now, you gotta have my dog's in training. So this is what we're doing right now. And they don't get to say hi to my dog if not. They can't come with low energy. So kids are either really good at this or really bad at this. Because kids can be, your kids are bad? A lot of kids can be coached. I've actually found kids are more coachable than adults. I can't tell you how many times I've had an adult come up and they're like, and I'll do that exact, hey, nope, we're in training right now. And they go, and they'll like go for it. I'm like, hey, no, like, then I have to have this awkward, no, seriously, don't touch my dog. Where kids, if a kid comes by, they're usually like, can I pet your dog? And I go, yeah, sure, just come down to their level, put your hand out. And the kids will be better than the adults. The benefit to kids is kids are like Disneyland for dogs. They're low to the ground, their voices are high, and they always have candy residue on their hands. So dogs love kids. So I like to get them exposed to as much as possible. But again, the kids need to be as calm as possible. Kids can also be a downside because they're really giggly and they're gonna jump up really fast. And like a dog, like, and I'm picking on Indy just because she's an Aussie Doodle, but yeah. So like that can get them going a little bit. But kids can be usually coached pretty good. I only have one stereotype of a person that I do not let my dog see, and I shouldn't say it, but it is true. And it's a stereotype because it actually works. If it's a girl with a Starbucks cup, the answer is no. Because when they see a dog, their brains shut off and they go, "Puppy!" And they come with all this energy, and it'll freak my dog out. So if you see a girl with a Starbucks cup, just start walking the other way. I use this incident because it actually happened. I was at Home Depot and I was working with a dog, and I had this dog. It's a beautiful breed. It's called Leonberger. It's a kind of a rare breed. They look like a giant German Shepherd with really long hair. So it's an attention getter. And I had this dog in a down, and I see this girl walk in, and she just looked at me, and she had the Starbucks cup, and I was like, oh no. And she comes running, I mean, sprinting as much as she could without looking obnoxious down the aisle. And she's like, "Can I say hi? Your dog is so," a bunch of, "Can I say hi?" And I was like, "No, we're in training right now, so sorry, I can't let you say hi." And she goes, "Okay," and she walks off. And then the Home Depot employee came back nice and calm, was like, "Beautiful dog, mind if I say hi?" I'm like, "Sure." And he goes down, and I look over, and that girl's standing there like, "Wait a minute, you just told me no, but you let them say hi." So the person needs to be calm. Whoever's gonna interact with your dog, be calm, but I need to get them exposed to as many people as possible. Again, just be obnoxious. Don't ever not do something because your dog's there. If your kids are out on the bike, jumping on scooters, skateboards, let that be part of it. I'll sit out there with a dog and I'll just pop a skateboard up and down, up and down, up and down, just to get them used to it. So never desensitize the area for your dog. If you're gonna bounce a ball, bounce the ball, do all that kind of stuff. Get them used to those things. So that way when it's happening, it's just a normal day situation, okay? So the other big thing, when I talk about taking control of everything, and this is where we're gonna get to the food thing, the most important things that you can take away from this right now, for this class today, is being tethered, utilizing the kennel, and a feeding schedule. So this is where we're gonna talk about this. Feeding schedules are super important for later on in their training, but also just as a general rule. If we're free feeding our dogs, we're gonna have a very low food drive, which is gonna make things slightly harder for training. Not necessarily bad, but it's gonna be a little harder on you. If I have a dog that's on a feeding schedule, when that food's down, they understand I have to eat that or I'm not eating. And again, this is where I sound like a crazy person because I go, this is my food, I'm letting you have it. If you don't eat it, we're not eating tonight. I'm gonna knock on wood here. I've never had a dog go past 3 days. They will eventually eat. You just have to be consistent and not cheat. This is how I want this to go. So for dogs under the 5-month age, we wanna give them we're gonna try and feed them 3 times a day. We're gonna give them 15 minutes to eat that food. So I'm gonna take whatever they're eating, split it into 3s. So none of your dogs are eating this much food, but this is just easy math. Let's say I've got a dog that's eating 3 cups a day. I'm gonna put that first cup down. They have 15 minutes to eat it. If they don't eat it, it comes up. The second meal, I'm gonna add whatever they didn't eat to the first meal to the second meal. So they might have 2 cups in there now. I put it down, they have 15 minutes. If they don't eat it, it comes up. Dinner time, I'll have all 3 cups in there. I put it down, 15 minutes, they don't eat it, it comes up. If they don't eat that day, they don't eat that day. The cycle starts again the next day. They're gonna start realizing, oh, if I don't eat it, it's not gonna be there. I better gobble this down. I want a dog that eats pretty quick. The thing about the feeding schedule for potty training, if it goes in the same time every night, it starts coming out the same time every night. So I can start timing that and I know, okay, I think they need to go. We also need to time that to where they're gonna be going in the kennel. So a general rule, after food, you have about 20 minutes to let's say 40 minutes or so after they eat to go potty, depending on activity level. So the more active they are, the quicker that might be. After water, you have about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, depending on activity level. Now, because they're tethered to you, you need to take them to water, don't forget. You need to walk them over to water. The benefit here is you're gonna be paying attention when they drink. They just drink, okay? Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes or whatever you use, whatever timing thing you use. Take them outside after that 10 minutes, okay? So that's gonna help you start dictating that. But this is where, again, I keep saying this, I sound like a crazy person. I want them on a feeding schedule for one, goes in the same time every night. That eating becomes food, but this is my food, I'm allowing you to eat it. I'm taking control of food. When we get dogs into training programs, we don't use treats. We use their food. They have to work for their food. Because if they're not working for their food, then I'm giving them free paychecks. That'd be like your boss going, hey, I'm going to give you your salary every single day just for being you. Your work is going to go plummet down because like, I'm getting this money anyway. What am I going to do this work for? Same thing with our dogs. So I need to reward them, say, hey, you're not eating unless you work for this. So we're taking control of that food. Everything is mine. The thing about being tethered, not only can I watch them, but the space is mine. As I'm walking, if I step on your paw, that's your fault, not my fault. Watch out. Get out of my way. We want dogs to be very aware of their space. I want them to understand when you're coming close, they need to get out of the way. I want them to understand when you're going upstairs, don't crowd me. If you ever end up on crutches or injured, which hopefully you never do, but if you do, you'll thank me for this. Nothing's worse than we're just trying to get through crutches and a dog's like, you move. I don't move for my dog. I don't walk around my dog. I don't walk over my dog. I walk through my dog. When I'm walking, my dogs, boom, they get out of the way. Again, it sounds crazy, but I need to have that control, and I need my dog to understand that I'm the leader in all these situations.
If your dog refuses to walk, like just sprawls out once you drag them.
You just drag them. Just keep going. Eventually they'll pick it up. They'll eventually go there. Eventually they start, okay, I get the drill.
I drag her.
Do ya?
She's fine with it.
Yeah, just let her go until let her keep dragging. So just keep that food in control. So that's a very important thing, and that's long term. I always want my dog on a feeding schedule. Yes.
Is it food and water?
What? No, water I want available at all times. You just remember, you just go over there because they're tethered to you. We need to go to water. So just don't forget that. But yeah, food 3 times a day.
It's a designated spot for the water, because that's where we've been having harder times.
Is what's that?
Designated spot for the water.
Yeah, you're going to be taking her because she's going to be tethered to you, so you're going to take her. So wherever it's going to be convenient for you. Yeah, and I don't want that in the kennel, especially they end up just tipping it over anyway.
But is it?
What's that?
She likes to sit in it.
Or sitting in it? Yeah.
It cools her down.
Yeah. So just make sure I want water available at all times. I don't want to restrict water at all. Okay. Other big things is toys in the house. I go to a lot of people's homes and I always see like the big old basket of overflowing dog toys. We don't want that. I don't mind your dog having toys, but I want those picked up. I want them to understand if I'm giving you a toy, it's because I'm letting you have it. If I just say you can grab toys willy-nilly, they're not going to discern the toy from a shoe, from a sock, from a piece of whatever the case may be. They're going to go, if it's on the ground, I can grab it. If I say you only have something because I've given it to you, that becomes more engaging for the dog. As soon as they're done with that toy, we pick it up. Even chew toys. Like if you're going to give your dog like a chew bone or something like that, as soon as they're done, we pick it up. And again, I don't want to throw them in the kennel with that chew toy just for safety purposes right now. But toys come up as soon as we're done. When I'm doing toys, I want it to be engaging. It's because we're playing together. I don't want to go, here's this toy, now shut up and leave me alone. I want to be going, here, let's go, yes, good job, good job. But as soon as we're done, that toy goes away. Okay?
What about things that can become a toy? Like if you're sitting like on your laptop and they're tethered to you, can you give them a dog bed to sit on or no?
You can, absolutely, yeah. But you just need to watch them in those moments. So if they're starting to chew on the bed, nope, we want to correct them. The biggest thing you're going to have them chew on is the leash, trying to chew on the leash. So yeah, the leash can become like what you're saying, that version of a toy. Make sure to correct them. I won't give you guys the big long story, but it's my favorite story that I have from training all these dogs is I once talked an owner into thinking a leash like this cost $300 because his dog was chewing through leashes like crazy. And so I gave him this leash and I said, be careful, it's a $300 leash. His dog never chewed on it. So he was very cautious about it once he thought it cost that much.
What's the benefit of that leash versus like, we have one that's just got the clip that you can put on the collar?
Okay, yeah, so those are okay for right now. So I do prefer a slip lead just for safety reasons. So as I'm putting tension on the leash, the pressure goes around the entire neck versus on a traditional flat buckle collar, the pressure pinpoints on one separate area. So we run the risk of collapsed tracheas, things like that. So now that's not to say that you couldn't have that happen here, but it reduces the risk. This is why when you go to a groomer or a vet, they always come out there and they'll slip a slip lead over their head first. The other benefit is they can't pull away. So let's say I'm dragging Indy and Indy pops out of the collar. With this, as she pulls back, this just gets tighter. So this is the benefit of these. They don't need to be fancy schmancy. I got this one for $5 on Amazon. So just a traditional slip lead. You just wanted to make sure it's not too heavy for your dog. So just get a thin one if you got a smelly dog. That's why I like the slip leads. I prefer them. I don't do harnesses. I don't do retractable leashes. In fact, in the program, those leashes are required just for safety reasons. So. Okay, I think I've kind of nailed everything. Anybody, let's go over questions. I'm sure you guys have questions. Your dog doing something specific? What kind of questions we have?
really good at using a pee pad right now
Okay.
to go pee, but he'll poop anywhere in the house.
Okay. Are you wanting to, so because you have a small dog, are you wanting to eventually litter train him or potty train him to a pad, or would you prefer him to go outside?
I prefer to go outside.
Okay. So right now, go and ditch the potty pads. So unless we're going to go that route of doing a potty patch or potty pad or a litter box, I want all potties to be outside. I don't want that habit of going on the pads, because that habit can be hard to break later on. Then it turns into anything that's different than carpet, I'll pee on. So it turns into potty pad, rug, welcome mats, whatever the case may be. So just right now, I want you to take him outside. So just get rid of the potty pads for now. Again, he's not gonna have the opportunity because he's gonna be tethered to you. And just as a reference point, we teach this in the first week of my program, this tethering to us, and then next week, everybody's like, so this is what happened. My dog started chewing on my couch. What do I do when they do that? And I always go, where were you? Where was your dog? And it always starts the same. Well, so here's what happened. Okay, we were cooking dinner and it just happened like that. It doesn't happen just like that. It can happen like that, but your dog's not going to destroy your couch just like that. It takes a while. I've seen it happen. So I go, where were you? Where's your dog? Well, that was your fault because your dog shouldn't have had that freedom to do that. So if they're having pooping accidents, that's your fault, not his fault. It's a way to think about that.
You guys want some pee pads?
Burn 'em.
Yeah.
I have a question on what could be, like what's a no, what's not.
Mhm.
Because Aussies like to like lick and like show affection.
Mhm.
Even when you're not offering affection, she likes to show affection. So do you allow her? Because sometimes she'll lick you and then start to do like a little nip.
Okay.
Which for puppies, like that's their way of like saying I like you. I read, but do you allow that right away? Like, do you stop nipping immediately, or do you work into it?
Yeah, I would stop it now. So that licking, and this is very common with all herding breeds, the impulsive licking. I'll see some dogs where they'll just walk and they're just licking the whole time because it just becomes a habit, a bad habit. I'm okay with some, if you're okay with her showing affection that way, but after a minute, nope, we want to stop it. As soon as it turns into that nipping, we want to stop that because that habit starts and it is hard to break. And then it turns into this, and then what happens is somebody's not used to it and they go, hey, and now she's going, what? And now we have an incident, not even an aggressive incident, but I'm reacting to you moving quickly or doing something like that. So I would stop that now. Just, it's okay to do a little bit, but I want you, nope, just put, and it doesn't have to be a drastic, nope, just, okay, we're done doing that now.
Yeah, and she really likes to do it like when you haven't seen her for a long time.
Okay.
She loves to like, that's like, oh, I haven't seen you. Like, I
Yeah.
gotta get all my loves in her. I don't know what she's thinking.
Yeah, and again, that's the start of those habits. So, so just stop
that's
it now.
a no. And then we kind of like have a certain area of the house that she's only allowed into, and then because we read like, then reward her with more areas. So if she's tethered to us, let's just start letting her anywhere we go.
Yeah, and again, I get that idea. That doesn't work in realistic terms unless you're going to gate your entire house up, and that's what oftentimes that looks like. Where I'd rather just say, typically the reason why we're stopping them from going to a certain part of the house is because we can't watch them or we're confining them because they develop a bad habit. I'm not even going to let those habits start. So and you can tell me what the reason is. Usually when we're not allowing dogs upstairs is because that's where the bedrooms are, and I don't want mud, I don't want the pet stuff up there. And if you're just saying absolutely not, then it's just absolutely not. We just don't allow you up there. But if it was based on that team, eventually we are going to let you up there, just start letting her go up there. Yeah, just start doing it now.
We have like the living room she can't go into, but eventually we want her to.
Yep. And even as our dogs get more freedom, just go ahead right now, just to let all the rules be the rules regardless of where you're at.
And she's little, so there's certain areas that she needs help getting to
Mhm.
because she can't just like climb down a big step or something.
Yeah.
So, or without hurting herself. So do you just pick her up when she's
Yep.
tethered to you? And
Yep.
let her down? Okay.
And you're going to find, I'm sure you are finding this, weeks are like huge milestones for puppies. Like by next week she could be flying up those stairs. By tomorrow she could be. But yeah, right now just pick her up if you need to. And you're okay right now for young dogs, you're okay to pick them up. Don't let that habit continue to go, or let that be this is a small dog thing where we end up, you're doing the wrong thing, I'm just going to pick you up because that's a reward. You're barking, I'm going to pick you up. Don't do that. Don't sit in that habit. Nope them. But there's going to be moments where you just got to pick them up. Where it's the thing that makes sense. If I'm walking and I see some person with a husky on a harness and a retractable leash and the person weighs like 100 pounds and the dog weighs 120 pounds, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to pick my dog up because you don't have control. Or, yeah, you can't get down these stairs, I'm going to pick it. That's okay. We just don't want that to be our default where we're picking them up. You guys. Yeah, small dogs typically really end up in this habit. But yeah, there's moments to absolutely pick them up. That's not a big deal. On that, one other thing I forgot. Furniture is another big thing that I personally don't allow my dogs on furniture. Now I understand a lot of people, the reason we got the dog was so we can sit on the couch and watch movies. That's okay. Furniture is invite only. So if I've invited you on, you are allowed to come up. Otherwise, I don't want you up. And I'll pick on Yorkies here because this is a common thing for them, is possession aggression over furniture. If I go to somebody's house and I see a Yorkie on the couch, I will go, am I okay to sit down? Because typically what it is, and they try and bite you over that thing. Same thing with the bed. I'm a big fan of the dog not sleeping in the bed. Not even necessarily that it's the bed, but more so that I just want them in the kennel. So those moments they should be in the kennel, not in the bed. So take control, everything is yours, remember. So if we are gonna allow them on furniture, it's because I invited you on.
What if you're sitting down and they want to get on your lap? Because the Aussie climbs up, like as soon as you're throwing a toy back and forth, she wants to just hop right into your lap.
It's if you're okay with that. So like if you're fine with her being that lap dog, however, I will still have it be invite only. So if she jumps up, nope.
Let her fight.
Yep, and then I'll nope, and then go, okay, come on. So now she can come up. And again, once we get like a baseline of commands, that's where you can really physically earn that. So it's like get into a down or a sit, and then, okay, now you can come up. And they start offering that behavior to say, hey, can I get up? Versus just jumping in. Because right now it's okay because it's you, but if you have a guest over, you have somebody over, they don't want a dog in their lap necessarily. So if I got this white shirt, if I have a dog jump on me and ruin my white shirt, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I'm not going to their house again, the dog's crazy. So those moments, just invite only.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And this is a big one that we're struggling with is, so puppy is down and playing with the kids, whether it's on the leash, whether it's not. She'll bolt. She'll just bolt and just charge.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's just like a natural like tendency for, but she'll bolt and she's nippy. So like even this afternoon we had her outside. She charged after my son and bit his foot and was actually bleeding. Like, I don't know what to.
Charge
It's
not
been
like
frustrating.
not like it was an aggression.
Yeah.
It was they were playing.
Yeah.
She wanted to play.
Yeah, it's more like a playful thing, but it's nip 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 all the time. All
Okay.
the time. Whether it's the grass, whether it's and it seems to me like it doesn't matter like how many times I correct her.
Mhm.
She just still just nips at the grass. She'll dig.
So, and that's where your correction needs to be powerful. So that's where we're not going, nope, correct. Stop that behavior. Even if I've got to like step back to like completely startle them or to completely gear them off of what they were doing, that's what I need to do. A correction, again, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to disrupt. So whatever I need to do to disrupt. So nipping is an absolute no, especially with kids. Now grabbing things, mouthing grass, that's all okay. That's not a big deal. If it turns into digging, I do want to correct that. But if they're just like kind of mouthing things, that's exploring a little bit of the world. Yeah. And because she is a puppy, and we do have to have some leniency with the puppy because she's going to forget. You're going to nope her and she's going to go, I don't remember that thing because I'm doing this. And that's where we have to have a bunch of points on her. It's going to take maybe 30 of those corrections. That's why I was saying it's not unreasonable that you're going to do like 400 nopes in a week or even within 3 or 4 days. That's very reasonable. But you want to be I want your nopes to be impactful though. They need to be, and they need to be in the moment. So again, I might go to that point if she's doing that consistently outside when she doesn't have the leash off, then I have to go, okay, for the next little while, you're just not going to be outside on the leash. You're going to be on the leash every single time we go outside.
Okay.
So even if it's dragging so I can grab it because I need to. And anything, I mean, there might be times where we might do a nudge on their back end or we might, doing like a flick of the nose. The downside with like the nose flick is that's your best way of getting also bit by your dog. You'll flick them on the nose and they go after you. Not to say she could do, but I've seen that happen oftentimes.
She gets mad. Like
Yeah.
if I tell her no, she gets mad at me.
Yep. And that's why, and then again, I don't want you to have that conversation with her because what happens is we go, nope, hey, you don't do that. And I start adding all those our human emotions in there. We just, nope, we move on. As soon as she stops, good. Or if she decides to not do that, that's another big thing. Our goods, we want to have a bunch of goods. We're always going to remember when to punish them or tell them no. When they're doing the right thing, I want to reward them. Let's say I come home and they're laying on the ground. Good. Give them a quick pat, walk away. Or you see them even like kind of make this calculation where they're like looking at the garbage can and they go, good, mark that. or the kids are running around and she is going, and she stops herself, good, let her know I like that. So we can also reward. We get points on the reward half of it too. Eventually, we become way more reward than we are correction based. But unfortunately, our puppies are going to offer a bunch of behaviors to correct more so now than not. The other big thing is like the puppy zoomies, like where they just boom, and they start running. That's okay. Let it happen. It's not a big deal. Let them calm down. Big things, never chase. The one thing that I get a lot of people do is they start chasing their dogs. The game is always come catch me. I'm not catching them. So with kids, this is huge because kids, they do that, I'm gonna run after you.
That was it.
Was that what happened? Yep.
What happened.
And what that turns into is our dogs start running away from us because they think that's the game. So when they get out that front door, you go, and you run after them and they start bolting from you, where when my dog runs away, I run away from them. And they go, oh, I remember this game, and they start running to me. So the game's always catching me. We have a toy, here, yes, good job. Always rewarding the come to me.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other?
How do you feel about like, because some days the puppy's left alone for like 4 hours, and then the next day I'm with her all day. So it's like this, there's never consistency in the time that she's in her kennel, because some days it'll be more and other days it won't. Is
That's completely fine. Yep. So, and again, part of that consistency is your inconsistency. So she's just going to get used to that, and that's fine. Again, they have to get used to you, what you're doing. Every day is going to be different. Yep. And I always kind of think that I'm not doing things for my dog. My dog needs to adhere to what I'm doing. So don't let your dog overtake your life. I sound mean, but it's going to get you a better dog overall. And the way to think about this stuff is, I'll have a lot of people like, gosh, it sounds really awful and mean, and my dog's going to be miserable. And I go, well, your dog's going to be more miserable if you don't do these things, and you have a crazy dog that is stuck in the house all the time, that you don't take out anymore because they're too crazy. You don't go on hikes, you're not able to go on walks. Do these things for your dog so your dog's actually good, so you're more inclined to take them out and let them have a life. My dogs, they're on this very strict rule. My dogs love their life. They're out every single day. We get to go on hikes. We get to go all over the place. I get to bring them with me everywhere we go because they're good dogs. They get to see all kinds of people. So I do all this stuff for my dogs, but just in simplicity.
If you have to go like through a drive-through to pick up some food, do you recommend bringing your dog with you, or?
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
And when you take them with you, should we have them in a carrier, have her in a carrier case, and just keep her in there? the whole
Yeah,
time?
just a little carrier case. If somebody can hold them now, this is going to be more of the regards to how much restraint do you have. If you're gonna have like a kid hold them, and how much control do they actually have. You can do like the seat belts, like the tethering seat belts things. But yeah, that's really good to get them used to the car. There's a lot of dogs that freak out in the car, and again, because we don't put them in cars very often. So that's a very good point. Yep, I like that. Yeah, take them out where you can, but don't take them out just because you don't want to kennel them. So we don't want to get in that domino effect. I get a lot of people that end up doing that. Like, I just bring them with me everywhere, and then never in the kennel. I want them used to the kennel, get them loving the kennel. It's gonna be a huge tool for you. But really good call, I like that. Okay, anything else?